Am I the antagonist for bullying a student? I, 29 years old female, am a 5th grade teacher, and this is my 7th year teaching. On Monday, our school had its field day. Our school takes field day very seriously and gives out ribbons, plastic bracelets, and other prizes for first place in every event per group. One of my students, 11 years old male, I have this year is easily the most talented student I have ever had. He is incredibly smart and just won the school spelling bee. He is kind and a great kid. His passion is sports, especially basketball. He is very talented, and I know he has the highest score in the school for the pacer test, the sit-up, and push-up tests. He absolutely dominated on Monday and had many ribbons, bracelets, and other prizes to take home. One of his friends was in a different group and was probably the second best student overall. This boy is a whiz in academics like the quiz bowl and also does basketball. He is highly competitive but very close friends with the first boy. The second boy is autistic. The boys came in after the event, and the second boy said something like, "Next year I'll win." They were doing friendly trash talk, which the boys in this friend group always do. They are very nice kids, just competitive with each other. Their banter was loud and one of the girls overheard them. She doesn't like the boys, but especially the second boy, who she sees as weird. I have had some conversations with her mom, and her mom always says, autism isn't an excuse to be weird. The girl told the second boy that he would never be as strong as his friend. She made a comment on why he's so weird and made a comment about his sensory issues. The boys started defending him. On Tuesday, for our morning work, I decided to put on a video of the world's strongest man talking about his autism. I also showed a few more videos of various athletes, including major ones like NFL players talking about autism. I asked the class their thoughts. The girl refused to participate and said that these videos were stupid. She said these people in the videos were weirdos. I told her she would get a 0 on her morning work, and she said that was fine with her. On Tuesday night, I received an email from the mom of the girl. She said I was bullying her daughter for not embracing the woke narrative on disability. She said she would be contacting the principal because I was trying to shove an agenda on her and forcing her to be friends with the autistic boy. She also said that giving my daughter a 0 was also bullying. My principal is a good guy. I discussed the email, and he laughed it off and said I was fine. I also told my mom about this, who is a retired teacher. My mom said I was in the wrong and I shouldn't show controversial videos in my class. She said that she wouldn't do that in her day and how I should apologize to the mom. She said the mom has the right to be concerned with the rise of autism these days, and it's my job to quell her fears rather than make them worse. Am I the asshole? Am I the antagonist? Not the antagonist in this situation at all. It's frustrating how some people use the term woke as an excuse to be cruel. Your response to the student's comments was appropriate and necessary. Kudos to you for challenging her prejudices and showing the other student that he is capable of anything. The girl may not need to be friends with people she finds weird, but she does need to learn respect and how to work with them, as it will likely impact her future success. Keep up the good work. And seriously, what was up with your mom's comment about the rise of autism these days? Totally uncalled for. Am I the antagonist for leaving dinner because my sister was late? Again? I, 27 years old female, had plans to go out to dinner with my sister, 30 years old female, as we do every month. She lives in my hometown and I live in the next state over with my boyfriend. We are about 35 minutes to an hour apart depending on traffic. We agreed to meet closer to hometown with my mom. One thing about her, she is always late. I expect she will always be at least 30 minutes late, but it has been up to a few hours. And not just random plans, weddings and graduations too. It has been brought up in the past by mom and me, but she always brushes it off and gets upset. My boyfriend drove me over. I cannot drive, and he offered to drop me before he had to head out for plans of his own near home and come back when he was done. I assumed after dinner we would just hang out at her house either way. I get to the place and start calling my sister. She usually does not say if she is going to be late, but if my mom is with her she does, and I had not heard anything. I get my mom a few minutes later and she says they are behind because it took a while to get my nephew, who is almost 1, ready, and my sister got in the shower later than expected. I did not even know my nephew was coming, and she usually tells me if he is. Her husband was apparently there to let mom in when she showed up, but went back to sleep as soon as she got there. I am not sure why he could not help get the baby ready, but that is none of my business. I check maps and it says 35 minutes, adding and getting the baby strapped and secure, and then putting him in either the stroller or front carrier on her body. I was looking at 40 minutes. To top it off, we had reservations. She made the reservation, not me. I had never been to this place and did not know if it was one of those places that do not let you have the table if your whole group is not there. There was really no space to wait inside and I would have to stand outside. Anyway, I did not feel like sitting alone for 40 minutes even if I could. She does not keep her friends waiting this long when they make plans. I do not get why it is okay to do this to me and mom. I am speaking to mom as they are trying to change the reservation online. At that point, I was fed up. If we agree to be there at a certain time, be there. 5 or 10 minutes late is fine, but not this. I told mom I was going back home. I did not feel like fuming at the table and acting like I was not mad when they got there, as I had done before. She sounded hurt and mad but said fine, and that she would go home too. Since then, I have not spoken to my sister. It has been a few weeks, and Mom does not want to get in the middle, but I told her I was not speaking to her until I get an apology. Mom told her she cannot keep doing this on their ride back home and agrees it is an issue, but will not say much else. It is ridiculous to always be late because you are bad at time management. She also wants to use the "it takes long to get a baby ready" excuse, which I would accept if it was not for the fact that this has been a problem long before my nephew was born, or even a thought. So, am I the a-hole? Not the antagonist for setting boundaries with your sister about her habitual lateness. It's important to prioritize your own time and comfort, so if waiting for her becomes a recurring issue, it's totally fair to choose not to make plans with her, or to have her take responsibility for meeting up at your place instead. Setting a clear time limit for waiting, like 20 minutes, and sticking to it is a good way to show her that you value punctuality. It's all about respecting each other's time and being consistent in enforcing your boundaries. Am I the antagonist for not wanting to walk them down the aisle or lie in a speech? I, 41 years old male, have 2 kids with my ex-wife, who is 42 years old female, a son named John, 22 years old, and a daughter named Sally, 20 years old. I am remarried to my wife, who is 28 years old. I have a very close relationship with my kids. My son is engaged to a woman named Abby, who seems nice but has been a bit pushy in trying to establish relationships with me and my wife. Abby also seems awkward in her interactions with my wife. Abby is not close to her family, and she has shared many stories with us about why. While some of her complaints don't seem too awful, it's not my place to judge as I didn't live through those experiences. We have tried to be welcoming to Abby, but she has forced her way into some family traditions where she wouldn't have been originally invited. She has been calling Sally sis since they were only dating for a few months. Abby also has an odd sister-mother-in-law dynamic with my wife, and she wants me to be like a father to her, even though we are very different people and don't have a strong connection. My kids and I have a tradition where we have a private catch-up in my office, study before they leave when they come over. This tradition has become even more important to them now, as while they both get along well with my wife, they prefer to have personal conversations away from her. Abby asked if we could talk during this time, and after I explained the tradition to John, he later asked that I include her. We compromised that she wouldn't be included in the tradition, but I would join them for coffee and let her talk. Abby then started calling me Dad, even though she and John weren't engaged yet. John asked me to accept this, saying she had never had a caring conversation with her dad before. He laid out a whole story about me always being the dad she wanted right in front of her, and she just wanted that. He even mentioned that she cried while watching me and Sally together. I didn't like it, but I felt bad, so I agreed to let her call me Dad. She also wants me to walk her down the aisle and have a father-daughter dance. I am hesitant about walking her down the aisle, and dancing is difficult for me as I use a cane. At my own wedding, I only danced twice. John is begging me to do at least one of these, preferably walking Abby down the aisle. During a recent visit, John and I were discussing this when Abby walked in unannounced, asking if John had discussed it with me. She wanted me to mention having a second daughter in my speech and how much I loved her. I looked at John, and he explained the situation. She then asked if I would walk her down the aisle and dance with her at the wedding. I agreed to dance with Sally but told Abby that it wouldn't be the same, as Sally is my biological daughter. I suggested mentioning in my speech that she was a happy addition to the family and that I loved seeing her make John happy, which I thought was a reasonable compromise. However, Abby started crying and John apologized before they left. Later, John called me, almost begging me to reconsider. Am I the antagonist for not lying and saying I love Abby or considering her as my daughter? Not the antagonist. Abby's behavior is definitely crossing some serious boundaries here. It sounds like she's trying to force a relationship that just isn't there, and that can't be healthy for anyone involved. You're right to stand your ground and not give in to her manipulative demands. Setting boundaries is key when dealing with someone like her, otherwise, she'll just continue to walk all over you and your family. Those red flags are waving high, don't let her control the narrative. Am I the antagonist for not giving my sibling any of my money, even though I am in a significantly better financial situation? My 26-year-old sister and I, who is 32 years old, both stay-at-home moms. I have 1-year-old twins. She has 3 sons, aged 6, 4, and 2. My husband, Michael, is a master plumber who earns an excellent income. He owns his own business, and I couldn't be prouder of him. I used to work as a librarian. I have my Master of Library Science degree and a bachelor's degree in education. During the birth of our girls on the way to the hospital in the ambulance, we hit a speed bump, and I was injured. I am now a wheelchair user, but am learning to walk again through physical therapy. I experience pain from my hips down, but my children are worth it. After my first surgery, we decided that I would become a stay-at-home mom, and my husband provides me with $3,000 per month to use as I see fit, as a token of appreciation for being a good mother. We are fortunate financially, and I am grateful to be able to witness my daughters growing up. Bethy's husband, Jackson, is an elementary school teacher, but teaching doesn't pay well in our state. Bethy has been a stay-at-home mom for the duration of her marriage and is accustomed to having to budget and save for things. She recently invited me out for coffee, and I accepted. During our conversation, I mentioned that our girls would soon start baby swim classes and how pleased I was that the pool was wheelchair accessible. Bethy began expressing frustration about the cost of swimming lessons and how she couldn't afford to enroll her sons in them. I also mentioned my excitement about an upcoming playgroup, sharing that I had felt anxious during our first visit because none of the other parents in the group used mobility aids. When I disclosed the name of the playgroup, Bethy became upset due to its higher cost. She was upset, stating that I knew money was tight, and I didn't even think to invite her and Jackson's son as it would save her daycare expenses. She then inquired if my husband provided me with an allowance. Feeling uncomfortable as people started to notice, I confirmed and asked her to lower her voice. She questioned the amount and whether I could give it to her, to which I declined, explaining that I like to treat myself after physical therapy sessions and aim to save for unforeseen circumstances. Bethy mentioned that she and her husband are constantly faced with financial difficulties and left the restaurant without settling the bill. I feel embarrassed and ashamed that I am not assisting her when I am capable of doing so. However, when I consulted Michael, he suggested that my sister should seek employment and reminded me that our decision for me to become a stay-at-home mom was based on our financial stability and my physical limitations. He emphasized that I deserve to enjoy nice things and should not have to sacrifice them just because my sister expects me to. I am conflicted. Am I the one in the wrong here? If a majority of people believe I am, I will reconsider providing her with the monthly allowance. I feel guilty for not offering help. Not the antagonist. It's a hard no from me. Your sister has no business trying to guilt trip you or embarrass you. Your husband makes a good point that she could work if she wanted to. Educators aren't valued more or paid better, but that's not your fault. You have no moral obligation to give her money. Your sister knew they didn't make a lot of money on a single teacher paycheck, and it was her decision to stay at home instead of working. Having children is expensive, and they knew that. She's jealous, that's all. It's your choice whether or not to pay for swim lessons for their children. There's absolutely nothing wrong with not doing it, and it definitely doesn't make you an ah. She's a Sam. Why does she need to pay for daycare? I hope your mobility continues to improve. All the very best to you. Am I the antagonist for allowing my stepkids to miss a big Mother's Day celebration with us in order to be with their maternal family? I married my husband Mike 4 years ago, and we started dating 7 years ago. He lost his late wife 10 years ago. His late wife was the mother of their twins, Frankie and Kenzie, 16. From the start of my relationship with Mike, the twins would celebrate Mother's Day with their maternal family. Mike had joined once or twice, but his relationship with his late wife's family was never super good, and he felt like his presence was more uncomfortable for everyone than reassuring, so he stepped back. Then we met, and it never even occurred to me that they would stop doing that. I did not marry Mike to be their new mom or anything silly like that. I was marrying Mike because we loved each other and because his kids and I get along fine, so we don't have issues. But we never expected more than what would happen naturally over time. Mike's parents moved to be closer to all their children who all live within a 50-minute drive from each other, and they wanted to do a big Mother's Day celebration this year. Mike informed them that the twins wouldn't be coming because they'll be with their maternal family on the day. This raised some questions, and they asked how I felt about it, and Mike told them I never had a problem with it. This led to me getting a call a few days later, and them asking me why I let my stepkids celebrate Mother's Day elsewhere, when I have been acting as their mother for 7 years. To be clear, I didn't even know them 7 years ago. It was 6 years ago I met them, and even then I wasn't raising them or having any real influence in their lives. I told them it's what they always did, and nothing had changed. I wasn't going to stop it. My in-laws said it's very different now because my son is here now, and the twins have another sibling. I told them it didn't take from them being with their mom's family for Mother's Day. They said the fact I ever let it happen was horrifying, and they should be celebrating me on the day. They told me how much harm I had done to my family by allowing this to happen for so long, but especially this year most of all. Am I the asshole? Not the antagonist. If the kids are happy with the arrangement and you and Mike are happy, what's the harm? Mike's parents need to step back and mind their own business. It sounds like you have a healthy and mature attitude towards your stepkids, and they will appreciate it down the line. How is this even being questioned? You are far from being the A, so much so that you are the perfect example of how someone should behave in this situation. Your in-laws need to back up and mind their business. Have they even considered the children's feelings in all of this? Seems they're making it all about themselves. They are pissed because they can't control the kids' schedule. Am I the antagonist for not wanting my mother-in-law in the house? My mother-in-law lives alone. She is healthy for her age. She can cook for herself daily and clean. She also gets a lady to help her every week. My relationship with her has never been the best, especially during my first 4-5 years of marriage, and when I had my son. She was very involved in our business and always snooped into the things my husband bought me, and basically wanted to know my whereabouts. When I started working and my son was 3, she expressed worries about me getting a nanny to help with caring for my son, claiming that neglectful parents hire nannies, and that parents should always be by their children's side at a young age, meaning I should stay home and not my husband. So the relationship is strained. Lately though, she has been expressing how lonely she is and wants to live in our house. My husband asked me, but I told him how terrible that would be for everyone. However, she's been pressuring him, and he is bringing up this conversation a lot. I cannot handle having her in the house. I will not be comfortable in my own safe space, my house, and won't feel like I have any privacy whatsoever. Yes, we have more than enough space for her, but that's not the problem. She will not stay in her room all day. No matter how much my husband tries to convince me, I know for a fact she will not stay in her room. Also, her diet is completely different from ours, so if she cooks for herself, either us or her will have late meals. I am refusing to compromise because I refuse to be uncomfortable in my house. I told my husband she could get a place nearby so we could visit her often, but living with us 24/7 is a big no from me. I will not agree to this living situation. He says I'm selfish, and maybe I am, but isn't it also selfish for her to want company at my expense? Being lonely is not a good enough excuse to intrude on someone's comfort. She could get a dog. She could live closer for my husband to visit. That, in my opinion, is a compromise. Asking me to give up my comfort is not a compromise. Not the antagonist. It's your time as a young family, and your husband needs to have your back. Bringing in his mom to live with you could have serious consequences. Your compromise was fair, and considering short-term couples therapy around this issue might help. Bringing mother-in-law in could lead to a disaster like my mom's experience. Stand your ground and don't let this escalate into a war. Mother-in-law is already causing issues, and your husband needs to respect your boundaries. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.